James was a much admired on the island of Sodor when he pulled passenger trains. Passengers always admired him before he even set off, and often thanked him for a splendid run. Likewise, when he was taking goods trains around the island, who he wasn't very fond of this job, but was glad that the trainsmen were always happy when he arrived, because of how reliable he was.
You are simply the best engine, James. Always smart and clean, always on time. In fact, the most reliable engine we know.
They said. This made James very proud, and often let the other engines know what everyone on the island had said to him.
I'm simply the best!
He bragged in the sheds, and even the yards. One day, Thomas, Percy, and Edward had to work at the yards at the docks, loading coal into trucks. This coal was a mixed load, which was needed to be taken to a huge coal hopper, which sorted out the best coal for important passengers and freight train duties, and the other grade for shunting and less important work. Because Thomas, Percy, and Edward were busy loading up the trucks and shunting them into sidings, the fat controller gave James the job of loading the trucks to the hopper. James hated this work. It seemed like every time he worked with coal, it rained, making his lovely red paintwork filthy. It often took the yardmen some time to get him sparkly clean again. When James arrived at the docks, it was indeed raining. The fat controller spoke to James.
James, I understand you don't like these types of jobs, but I chose you for this job because you're extremely reliable. And when you're done, you'd go off clean.
And that was that. Although James loved the fat controller's praise, he still hated the task ahead. Come on, old boy, we'll soon be done. You'll see, said his driver. But when they arrived, there was much confusion. The rain poured down, and the cranesmen's cranes weren't working. Unfortunately, none of our cranes work right now, said one to James's driver. James complained bitterly as he sorted out the trucks, and there was nothing he could do about it. James was still in a filthy mood when he arrived at the hopper. His task was tricky, but not all that difficult. The hopper was a huge standing tower. A truck loaded of coal would be pushed onto the hopper's platform at the base. Then this platform would be mechanically lifted to the top of the inches, where men would guide it into the chipper. The truck was then lifted and tipped into a special hopper which sorted out the best coal. Then the empties returned to ground level, and then the empties would be pushed off the base for new trucks with coal in them to be placed on. It created massive loads of dust, which covered any engine working the hopper. The work seemed slow. James's train of trucks was long. He was slowly getting dirtier and dirtier, which made him more and more impatient.
Come on,
he yelled angrily.
I've got much important things to do than the trucks being unloaded.
The trucks would have none of it. They knew James and his outpost.
You're just a big red pimple, and we all know what we do with red pimples. We pop them.
And the trucks all snickered and laughed. It made James even angrier, and he treated them roughly. Then thunder and lightning came. James hated this type of weather, grew more and more impatient. Then it all happened at once. There were only 2 full trucks left to be hoisted. James biffed hard into them.
Come on,
he snickered, little knowing that his front coupling had become tangled with the trucks.
Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the hopper. It made it go out of control.
As the front truck was lifted,
it dragged the back truck with it as it was snagging onto James.
But he was far too heavy for the winch, which came to a standstill. But suddenly, coal was already slipping from the back truck all over James. He just couldn't see anything. Then the first truck on the ramp itself fell off, pulling the other one with it, which in turn pulled James off the rail. He fell sideways. He was done for, and there was nothing anybody could do until the breakdown train arrived. James was taken to the works to be mended. The fat controller was most annoyed with him.
James, you must learn how to control your temper, or else matters like these will happen more often than they should.
Yes, sir, James said, and he left James to think about it. The next day, things got back to normal, but the fat controller wanted more than anything else to clear the huge line of coal trucks in the dockyard. So he found a diesel. The other engines were most upset, but felt much better when he told them the diesel was only there to clear the coal trucks.
After his job is done, he'll be dispatched back to the diesel yards.
diesel was not at all efficient. It kept breaking down and was not as powerful as he looked. But one day, while in the coal hopper's yard, a sudden thunderstorm arose. Lightning hit the rails right in front of the diesel. Smoke poured out of his engine covers, then it cleared. When it did, the diesel felt much different.
I feel marvelous. Please take me for a run.
He said as his driver was trying to see what was different. His driver could not believe the power in ED, as he was called for. The electric shock turned ED into Super ED. He sped everywhere. Now, instead of only managing to pull a few trucks, he could pull massive loads of them at one go. The dockyards were cleared in no time. The Fact Controller was most impressed.
You have done an impressive effort today, Edie. I think I should try you on my express passenger run,
He said excitedly. Super Ed was delighted,
So much so that he felt like he would work all day and night.
but he forgot about his driver.
I need my sleep.
He told him. So Super ED had to stay in the yard close to the engine shed. All of the engines made rude remarks about him and wheezed at him. But no matter what they did, Super ED wheezed here and there and everywhere. Everybody wanted to see him rush by. He sped through tunnels, through the countryside, to crowded mainline stations. In fact, he was so fast that Gordon's record was under threat, which annoyed Gordon and the other engine.
I am now the new express engine. I am now the pride of the line. I am more faster, sleeper, and moderate overall.
Super Edie said as he pounded down the line. Soon, Super Edie was one of the most loved engines on the island. The Fact Controller had never known business to be so good before.
Sometimes he would even get out of his office, stood on the platform, and admired Super Edie.
People came up and shook his hand and told him what a splendid railway he was running. This was very disturbing news for the other engine, so much so that they even thought about ways to get him off the railway. When James came back from the work, the sheds were packed and there was no space for him. Sorry, James, but it seems like you have to sleep with Super Ed tonight, the turntable operator said. So James had to park alongside Super Edie, who was very chatty.
Just can't wait until there's nothing but us diesels working in these yards. You steam engines are messy, slow, and noisy. But I must say, I like you, James. If it wasn't for you, no one would know how useful I really am. Powerful and super speedy Ed. That is me. You know, James, mainlines were built for the likes of me. All of you old chuffers are good for a shunting yard. You can be as dirty and smoky as you want there. Leave the mainline stuff to me. I'm modern and clean. That's what they call me. You old smokers are for scrap.
He scoffed and he snagged away, leaving James a few undecided. He wanted to puff up Super Ed out.
No worries, James. That diesel won't stay here for long. You mark my words,
His fireman said, and he was right. The next day, Gordon and James were waiting for their trains outside Knapford Station. A storm was bruising overhead, which was delaying things for them. Just then, Super Ed drew alongside them.
I suppose you two are waiting for the storm to pass. Well, nothing stops me. I'm a diesel electric, and I like storm. That's why they call me Super, because I'm super at everything, no matter the weather,
said Super Edie as he purred happily, waiting for a signal to move off. Gordon was annoyed with Super Ed just said. Just then, a bolt of lightning struck Gordon's front bumper and zigged onto Super Edie. It seemed like it was all over him, a series of strikes. Super Edie then it popped and spluttered. The thick smoke burst from the vent in his engine cover.
Driver, help me!
Driver tried everything to make it move, but Edie was all ruined up. More and more smoke poured from his engine. The smoke drifted onto the station, making everyone cough and splutter. It was so dense no one could see where it was coming from. The Fact Controller appeared on the platform.
Oh my! The smoke right this instant. There's an engine. Take it to the work right this instant.
Sir Topham said little known it was his new superstar engine. It was the end for Edie. He would never be Super Edie again. James and Gordon had to take Edie to work. While at the works, Edie apologized for his rude remarks.
James, Gordon,
he said in a sad toned voice.
I'm sorry for my rude remarks for you two. Both of you engines do a fabulous job on your jobs. Better than I could ever.
Diesel said, while looking down at his buffers. Gordon and James could not hold their laugh or smile.
Oh, don't think of it like that, Edie,
Gordon said with a chuckle.
We all get too prideful of ourselves. Me and James would know that.
The two engines laughed and even made Edie chuckle a bit.
Indeed. Not only that, but you were also fabulous doing your job. That's true, especially with the Express. It takes a lot for an engine to pull the Express. It's an important trait, you know.
Gordon said as the three giants all laughed and smiled together. When Edie was at the work, the engine's life was back to normal. Gordon was now everyone's hero. All the engines thanked him.
Oh, thank you so much, Gordon.
Duck said as he winked at Gordon.
Indeed, thank you for saving us all. If you weren't there, we would have been replaced.
Donald and Douglas snickered.
Oh, we were never gonna be replaced in the first place. He was just too prideful of himself. I promise you, James, you can ask James.
Gordon said with a smile. The engines were all shocked by what Gordon said. They didn't actually mean, but their answer was found when Edie came back. He apologized to many of the engines. Some did forgive, while others didn't. But no matter what, Edie still went back to shunting trucks. He didn't break down as easily as he used to, and soon taught James how to keep his temper down. But soon enough, Edie had to go back to his old railway. But he couldn't leave without saying a goodbye to a lot of the engines.
Well, fuck controllers, engines.
He said with a smile.
It was a nice time being on your railway. Probably the best one I've ever been on. But unfortunately, I have to go now. My apologies for my rude remarks to you all. All you engines are better than I thought before. Anyways, I must go now. Bye, you all.
He said with approving sounds of whistles and cheers as he was leaving. That engine has changed for the better, James said.
I'm glad to see that.
Kind of funny how it took a bolt from the blues to make Edie supper, but it took a bolt from a blue steam engine that did it for him,
Gordon said with a chuckle, as all the engines laughed at his remark. That engine really does remind me of you and James, Edward said.
I guess us steamies and diesels aren't really that different after all,
Duck said. I'm glad to say that Edie was now a changed engine. And many of the Fat Controller's engines changed their opinions on him. Don't you too?